right, well, welcome everyone to, well, Teresa, if y'all are watching the playback of this, which I hope you are,
Hush up.
we are talking tonight, let me share my screen, about element 5 in the life book. And this is one of my all-time favorites. I'm just hooked on the life book, flat out, because everything everything that you need to know is in this life book. Hang on, I can't get this to go to slideshow. It will not. So we're talking about optimizing your surroundings. Here we go. Play from current slide. So and this doesn't mean just like your home, your car, whatever, your environment, that aspect. It also means friends and stuff, right? It means everything that we surround ourselves with. So our agenda, we're going to work on our mindset. We're going to be using positive connections to support and enhance your journey. We're going to talk about that. Skill set, understanding the hot or go system and the cool or no system. Our action tonight is going to be identifying specific strategies to help stay above the line and improve relationships. So we're going to look at your surroundings and think about, because they say that you are more in tune and alike the 5 people you surround yourself with. Okay. So for instance, if you're surrounding yourself with friends that are food focused, you're going to be food focused. If you're surrounding yourself with friends that are active, you're going to be more active, right? So, and you can modify your world, because you can invite people in that have similar interests than you, that help encourage your health, right? We are ultimately in control of what we put ourselves into, right? What environments we put ourselves into. We're going to discover how to create a microenvironment of healthy relationships. We're going to provide you with tools, resources, and tips that will help you improve your relationships. So if you have anybody that you get on the phone with and you get sucked into a drama triangle, we call it, then we're going to help you to get out of that. We're going to examine the value of community and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, because I'm telling you, it is super important. So this is our co-founder of the company and the author of the Habits of Health book and the Life book. So this is a statement that he made, and everything that we're teaching, that I'm teaching tonight, is from him. It is from his heart. Relationships are critical to everything we do in life. We are hardwired to be social, and our sense of connection, belonging, and attachment to other people is one of the most fundamental of all human needs. And if you think about it, you always feel 10 times better if you're talking to a friend that says, oh, I've been there, I've done that, right? Why is it important for us to work on our connections and our relationships? Because that is what is everlasting in our world. That is the thing. All of our relationships are the things that are most important in our lives, and people that we surround ourselves are going to help us in our journey, or they'll hinder us. So we'll talk about that further as well. So think about, where you are in your journey, who supports you, and what that might look like. I love how we define things. In the life book, they've talked about the drama triangle, right? But this is kind of an easier way to look at the drama triangle. So if you are below the line, you are closed, defensive, you always want to be right, you're blaming, shaming, you're basically not taking responsibility for anything in your life. When we're doing those things, we also really can't come from a very creative space. You can get some stuff done in that space, right? That's also the reactionary, right? Like if your child runs out into the street, you want to holler at them and yank them out of the road so they don't get run over, right? So that's where, like, being below the line is okay and legitimate, right? Because you're saving somebody's life. hopefully you can feel the difference when we're closed and feeling like we have to be right, and we're argumentative, we're in a below the line state, versus being open and curious. When we're in an open and curious state, we're kind of in control of our emotions. We also become more creative. We're more able to connect with people authentically because we have a more open and curious mindset, right? It's not, I'm right and you're wrong. Let's discuss and figure out and try to understand each other, right? Which this world could use a whole lot of that. So our skill set is the hot or go system, or the cool to know system. So the hot or go system is basically your amygdala part of your brain is where this functions from. So that's the very back of your brain. I kind of call it your 2-year-old brain. In the book, it talks about the Labrador brain. Okay. So that is very reactive. It's originally built to help us to flee from a saber-toothed tiger, for instance. Like, we see danger and we don't think. We're either going to fight, flight, freeze, play dead, right? Those are our reactions. We are very reactionary. And that helped us back then. But now what the problem is that everything that we feel is an attack on us is more on our ego and our self-worth. And it's either us attacking ourselves and our self-worth, or other people are stating things that we feel, okay? Because it's all us. Because it doesn't matter what anybody else says to you, right? It's how you interpret it. It's how you choose to hear it and be affected by it. So you can be reactionary. You can just function from your amygdala brain, or you can use even the stop, challenge, and choose that we've talked about in other things, in the other elements, right? So the stop, challenge, and choose is basically, I'm going to stop. I'm going to think. I'm going to give you an example. I'm in the car with my husband. He makes a statement that I feel is wrong. Right? Right? How many of us have been there? So yeah. I feel like he's wrong. So I'm sitting there going, stop. And I drink my water. Kid you not. I'm drinking water going, okay, I could argue my point as to why I'm right. But then our car ride is going to be pretty heated and miserable, and we're not going to have fun for today. So yeah. I can just be okay with knowing I'm right. Just kidding. It's not, I'm just kidding. It's not about being right or wrong. Like, it is sometimes just about the feelings, and you get to choose, what do you want to feel in that moment? Do you want to feel joy and peace and love with your spouse, or do you want to be right? So that's just a really good example of that one. The cool or no system is exactly what I just talked about. It's the stop, challenge, and choose. You're not going to let that amygdala brain work, right? You're going to think about it. And same thing with, like, if you're eat something that's off plan, this is the same thing. Sometimes our hot or go system is like, well, I'm bored, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm happy, whatever all those emotions are. And you want to react by eating something that is not the healthiest for you. And you are completely in control of that decision. You're completely in control of your mind. You just have to remember that. You have to remember to stop, challenge, and choose. The cool or no system. Understand where things are coming from, right? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. How many times have you said something that later you're like, man, I wish I could have taken that back, right? That I just spent, an hour upset over, or 2 hours upset over something I said that person might not even being reacted to, but what you said was probably off color or not appropriate. So if you have a pen and paper, I want you to write down on paper. This is a regulating your emotions example. So you're going to write down, or you can look in your life book. It's actually in your life book on page 131. It says, what is your emotion? So I want you to think of something that has in the past or currently agitates you and causes you to react. Okay. So Dr. A gives the example. The emotion is When my daughter leaves the kitchen in a mess, I feel angry. His past response was he would yell and create stress and bad feelings. And why would he respond with anger? Well, ultimately, he just wanted her to be successful and make great choices, right?
Yeah.
So now his current response is I see the mess. I turn to yell, but I immediately stop, let the feeling pass. That lasts about 90 seconds. Did you know that's about how long it takes to process an emotion is 90 seconds? And then he asks his daughter to clean up. Once she's finished, he hugs her and tells her he loves her. So after he does this a few times, he learns a little quicker and a little quicker each time. So this is just an exercise in life, right? This is something that we can utilize not only with our health journey, but with all of our relationships, grandkids, kids, our spouse, friends, anybody that you have that you're dealing with. So in this stop, challenge, and choose environment, where I talk about stop, breathing, drinking water, some things that you might ask yourself if you're in a conversation and it's somebody's in the victim mode, or they're being a villain and they're attacking you, like whatever it is, or you just have that, like you feel like you're right. You can ask yourself these questions too. What is happening? Because sometimes what we're feeling isn't what is really going on with the situation in front of us. It's actually what I call scratching the scar open, right? All of us carry, if we were to look, if we were to have scars on our body for every harsh word said to us, everything that hurt our feelings, every physical hurt, every emotional hurt, like all of the things, we would be covered in scars, right? So what is happening? Is it really this person, this conversation, this incident, or is it a scar, something that happened to you in the past that's actually affecting you? If it's the situation, you can say, well, what did I want to have happen? And really question yourself, or question the person. Well, what did you think was going to happen in this situation? And then you talk about, well, what is missing, right? I use an example too of like being on a board. So like being on the any type of board, if something goes wrong, say you have an event and something fell the wayside and didn't get done, and so it just didn't happen the way you wanted, right? Well, these are questions you can ask in that conversation as well. And you take the emotion out of it. You're just asking questions. What happened? What did we expect to happen? What is missing? Maybe we have a person that's in charge of XYZ and they make sure that XYZ happens. And then you say, what's next? Well, we're going to put somebody in charge. We're going to create a better outcome for next time, right? We're going to set ourselves up a little bit better. So, and that is also helpful with even your own emotions. A lot of the times you just have to ask yourself these questions to understand yourself more. So how can you improve relationships? So I want to read this to you first. Being open and curious and wanting to understand and learn from another person's perspective is a powerful demonstration to them that you respect and honor the differences you have. So I think it's really important in all of our relationships that we actively listen. And I am not a good actively listener. I work on, that is my thing that I work on, is being an active listener. And that means kind of repeating back to somebody. And you can do it in a question. So what I hear you saying is, you're falling off the wagon and eating chocolate fudge sundaes every day. And what I hear is that there's some emotion tied to that reason, right? There's some emotion. You're lonely. You're home. You're alone, and you're lonely. So you're turning to this hot fudge sundae. I don't know. That's just the thing. But improving our relationships and helping us on our health journey is to, one, be an active listener, Be willing to understand where somebody's coming from. And then this is a thing you want to write down also. You're going to list out 5 friends that help support you, 5 friends that are like-minded like you. That could be your spouse, that could be family, like whoever it is. You list your 5 friends that really are supportive, that you've shared, that you're on this journey of growth, not only in healthy body, but in healthy mind as well. And you surround yourself with those people, okay? Then you want to also list out who are your 5 accomplices. Who's an accomplice? Somebody that might bring home donuts. You might have to have a conversation with that person and say, hey, I'm on this healthy journey and I really need your support. Can you please not bring, donuts into the house? You might have a friend that when a group of friends that you go out to lunch with and they're always pushing desserts, or, well, I'm not going to eat that way. Why do you eat that way? Why are you eating a salad? Why don't you have something? Like, I have had people that have had conversations like that. And I'm like, hey, I choose to eat healthy because I want to feel good. Like, I'm not choosing it because, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm choosing this because I want to feel good. So by surrounding yourself with like-minded people, you will succeed, and you'll have an easier journey. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of people in your life. That means you just have to have honest conversations, or until you are in a spot where you have created an unconscious competence, which we're going to talk about. You'll want to kind of avoid the people that might be food pushers, that might be the ones that are kind of down in you. So that brings us to this one: 4 stages of consciousness. So there is incompetent, unconscious incompetence. That basically just means you don't know what you don't know, right? There are people out there in the world that don't understand that when you eat a protein, you don't have mashed potatoes and French fries. There's people out there that don't understand the importance of greens, right? Conscious competence means, hey, I'm conscious and aware that I need to eat healthier. And I know that I'm going to read my life book. I'm going to choose to eat frequently. I'm going to choose to drink water. It could be even a mindset thing, right? I'm going to choose and make a plan to not be reactionary. I'm going to listen to healthy mindset podcasts. I'm going to read my life book, and I'm going to start to understand that I'm in control and I can make those choices, and I can choose to shift from below or above the line, right? Conscious incompetence. So you know it, but you haven't done it. You know it's there. You have the tools. Conscious competence means you're now opening your life book, reading your life book, utilizing the tools. You are practicing active listening. You are practicing stop, challenge, and choose. And you are doing all the things that you need to do to be the healthiest you possible, right? You're using all the tools in the toolbox. That's community. You're leaning into your coach. You're, doing all the reading that you need to do. So that's conscious competence. And that takes practice, right? So all of this is a work in progress, except for the first one. The first one is you just don't know what you don't know. Unconscious competence. I don't know, Teresa, I know you weren't on when I did this one, but I talked about going to the Farm Bureau barbecue. And this was like a big moment for me. 6 years in this program, and this was huge for me. And I've probably done it throughout my journey and just haven't recognized it and been so aware that I was unconsciously competent. So I'm going through the line and I'm busy chatting and not paying attention. And they had hamburgers and they had chips and they had fruit. And then you went to the other table and you got your condiments, right? And your lettuce and onion, tomato and stuff. So I realized when I got to the condiment table, this whole time I talked, I didn't think about anything. And I ended up with a cheeseburger on my plate and fruit. Oh. I just got the healthy stuff. I didn't put anything unhealthy on my plate at all. That is unconscious competence. Once you practice even the mind shift for creating a healthier mindset, instead of getting upset about something or feeling like you have to be right or automatically blaming, shaming, or being in just a negative space, you can work hard enough to go, do I want to shift and be open and curious? You'll eventually just instantly recognize and shift without even having to ask the question, do I want to? Are there going to be personal stress and environmental stress? Sure. But this is why we practice. And one of the things that we talk about, like I've said, is you want to surround yourself. Your home needs to be stress-free, as far as, don't have things in it that are going to sabotage you in any fashion. Okay. Also, the other thing is your cell phone. Like, I love that you guys are watching this or you're on and utilizing your phone for that, but you do want to kind of give yourself a break from your cell phone and not use that so often. They're now talking about that we're now from 12 seconds to 8 seconds in our attention span, because we're utilizing our phones. We're on our phones all the time. So be cautious of that. Don't be in your phone so much. That can be an environmental stress as well. And personal stress is, we all can stress ourselves out. Again, that is a choice, whether you realize it or not. Okay. You're choosing to react to whatever's happening. So that's where we have to stop and challenge and choose, decide to shift and be open and curious and ask yourself those questions, and decide whether you want to be open and curious and move to a different space. So if you are having a dispute with someone, or like I said, the argument with your husband, like how many of us, you get in a little bicker every now and again, you immediately sense your breathing, sense your tension, and just take a deep breath, take a drink of water, whatever it takes to slow down, stop, challenge, and choose your thinking. Do a countdown, count to 10 or count backwards from 10. If it's something really big that somebody has brought to you that is stressful, you might just want to say, you know what, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'd really like to take a day and think on this and before I respond to you. Like, it's okay for us to not have an immediate response to anyone, right? Be sure to get good night's sleep. That's very important. That's our restorative for not only our bodies, but our minds. And be open and curious and excited about challenges. And one of the sayings that we say is, the obstacle is the way. Embrace the obstacle is the way. So at the end of each element, these same questions are asked. And it's a good time for you to stop and reflect and think, what does this mean to me personally? If you get in your life book, you write down any people that you might have problems with, or there's one section where you write down your kryptonite. What's your kryptonite that throws you off track, right? Of whatever, whether it's healthy or healthy mindset, what's your kryptonite? So write down what this element means to you, what you are wanting to reflect on, and then what actions you're going to take. Because we can always go, oh, well, I would like to do this. I would like to be, my thing is, during harvest, I would like to not come from a reactionary state. I would like to stop, challenge, choose, and be open and curious and ask questions. So that's my goal for this harvest, because usually during harvest, I blow one time. So, and it's from, lack of sleep and all the things, not being used to working that hard. So anyways, do you have any questions while you're on?
No,
Any thoughts?
Any thoughts? My husband's bad about bringing crap home. He does it all the time, but I don't do it. He bought 2 packages of these cookies that he was going to take for his team because he's a soccer coach, right?
Yeah.
Well, he forgot to take them, And so he left him here, and I said, well, can I take them to church? Because we all take turns and bring treats for everybody that, when people come, they can get a snack or whatever.
Right.
And so, yeah. And
Yay.
so last night he decides to open them and start eating them. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
And I go, wait a minute, you were gonna let me have those to take to church. And he's like, well, I'll buy you more. He's fat. And he'll bring home stuff and he'll say, here, do you want to try this? Even though he knows I'm doing this. You know what I mean?
Well, have you ever had the conversation with him and said, I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't bring me home things and ask me to try things. I appreciate and love you for thinking of me.
Right.
But, maybe.
He's not really bringing them for me. He's just
he ends up eating it.
Well, I mean, buying it, and he knows, but he's always, here, do you want some of that? No, John. Yeah. Why would I eat that? I mean,
yeah.
So yeah,
way to be strong.
It's like I got to remind him, all the time.
Yeah,
I got to remind him. So I don't know, but I've got candy in the fridge that I bought for him because he had COVID a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me if I could get him something like chocolate or something. So I bought him 2 bags of these little Hershey's different candies, right? I don't eat them, but they're in the fridge. Well, I could, but I choose not to.
Good job.
I don't, but I do tend now. My granddaughter sold those Fat Boys. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, the ice creams.
Yeah, well, I've had one. I've had some.
Oh.
So I have had some of those, but I'm like, oh crap, do I really want to do this? You know what I mean? Yes, I do. I want to treat myself. You know what I mean? That's the hard thing.
Sometimes you just have to ask yourself some questions, right? You got to be open and curious with yourself and say, why do I feel like this is a treat for me?
Right.
Because what is this really going to do in long term, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going to taste good for about 5 seconds. And they actually state that the first bite is the best one. After that, like it's just like eating the same thing. It doesn't do as much as that first bite does.
Are you telling me to take a bite of his?
Yeah, take a bite of his and be done, because you'll know. Yep. Like that's I'm over it.
Yeah. I do sometimes when he's got stuff, and I go, let me just smell it.
Yeah. I
smell it, like it's something he's gonna eat or something, because I know I'm not gonna eat it. Yeah. I'll say, let me smell it. And then I'm fine. But yeah, he laughs at me when I say that.
Yeah.
But maybe
I'm going to stop. Hang on. I'm going to stop